Well, good morning. I have to say it was a real surprise to see how many comments I got having put the video up about this new van. It was a surprise because although I like them, they don't have in the minds of the general public much of a reputation for being brilliant vans, although they are brilliant vans. They are old-fashioned vans, and you will get the snowflakes moaning about heavy steering, being slow and all that kind of stuff, but you got to remember these were basically lorries rather than vans. And when these came out, I think I mentioned it in the other videos, you could buy like Mark III Transits and other things which drove much more like a car. The very first designs of these, I think, were like in the early 80s, and back then you could not get anything this big that wasn't a lorry. So Mark II Transits and stuff never had high roofs. They weren't as big, as wide or as generous. So that's why these became popular with Royal Mail, Parcel Force, the police, ambulances, basically anyone who wanted to move something big without having to use a lorry. They had one of these. But because they were a bit old-fashioned and they were massive, and they became cheap because the newer vans, people would buy them second-hand rather than one of these. These kind of dropped right down the rankings so that they were really only bought by enthusiasts, poor people, and kind of deviant nomad trash that kind of wanted to live in a van for some reason. So a lot of them got chopped up, windows cut in them, horrible interiors, and then run into the ground by people who didn't maintain them, and then wondered why their van fell apart, and then they got scrapped. So that is why there aren't many left, and that is why this one is so rare, being unmolested, genuine panel van, no windows cut in it, and no stubborn stains, residue of people living in them. So in the cab, brief tour, Spitfire Trading has taken up all of the interior here and cleaned it and then put it all back down again, which has been a massive help to me. But he did that largely to just inspect for any rust, and there isn't any. So I've looked at a couple of convoys and quite a few 400s, and what you notice on the 400s is everything has been cavity waxed. It's got really good rust prevention in it, underside, all the rest of it. So that is probably a reason why it's not rusted compared to some of the convoys that you might see. I did try and show you under here, and it's probably, this little camera isn't very good at low light conditions, but basically these seams, in fact, why don't I go and do this properly? I'll go and get a light. I'm not going to do a full tour of the underside because it's wet down there and I can't be bothered, but come on, light. There you go. That is about as rust free as one of these gets. And when I mean rust free, there is no rust. This is my planned intention, is to just keep this thing as minty rust free as it currently is. In here you can see my new brake discs, my new calipers. Hopefully you can see that. New pads, obviously, brake lines. I've remade the copper lines that go under and to each of the calipers. They're twin feed ones on this one. And what else did I do? Yeah, the flexi lines. Yeah, look under there. There is, wait for it, no rust whatsoever. It is truly remarkable. I do not know these vans particularly well yet, as I'm constantly being reminded by more educated people in YouTube comments. I can't talk when I've got my GoPro in my mouth, so that's why there was a dramatic pause. This is a 2.5 litre non-turbo engine. People refer to it as the Peugeot engine, and when this thing was built, that engine was bought from Peugeot, but I've learnt it was actually designed by Indena, and then Peugeot bought the rights to that engine, and I think a lot of their other engines. But yeah, it's a bit of a puzzle for me, because on most of the engines I look at, you've got an inlet and an exhaust on the other sides of the cylinder heads, like a crossflow, but inlet and exhaust both on this offside, which is a bit odd. But again, I went to look at a few of these LDV 400s before I bought this one, or before Spitfire Trading found it for me. There's my light. Well, incidentally, that light thing was, I think, 37 quid posted from Tool Station, and it's brilliant. But yeah, in here, again, look, no rust. It is remarkable. And the backstory to this van, and I might put some pictures up, it was owned by a guy who did carpet fitting, and you can tell he did carpet fitting by what is in the back. This thing, when we went to collect it, come on, oh for fuck's sake, this is on my list of things to do, fix these doors. But yeah, this thing was literally up to the top of the roof with rolls of crappy carpet, horrible nasty tack things, drums of paint, carpet rolls, you name it, it was dumped in here. He used it as a stopgap vehicle, and then one day he lost the keys in there somewhere, couldn't find them, and basically the van sat in his drive for I think 18 months and it didn't get used. The whole of the near side went green, like it, Spitfire Trading's washed it for me, but basically the whole of this left side was like that, and yeah, it just sat festering really, and because he had no keys, he couldn't drive it and he couldn't sell it and he couldn't do anything with it, so it just sat there until eventually I think he got some pressure from the neighbours to shift it, put it on eBay, and I got it. But because it didn't have any keys, the first job was to chisel the anti-tamper bolts off from the ignition barrel, split that, hot wire it, get it started, get it driving, and then limp it home. But you can see why these were so popular with the unwashed, because I'm 6'1" and I can stand up in here. You got loads of space, and when you imagine that these really were cheap bangers, they were the obvious choice. It's a shame though, because they do have a lot of character, they do have a charm, and if you do just want to chug around, you can't get anything better than that, because that Indena Peugeot 205 normally aspirated engine will just go on forever. This thing's only done, I think, 40,000 miles. Let's have a look. 45,000. So there's very little wear on things like the steering wheel. The seat has had it here, and there's a split on that one, but I've got a second-hand bench seat with good fabric, so the plan is to wash that one up, fit that there, and then use the fabric from that one to repair this one. In other news, one of the irritating things about the van at the moment, and I haven't started it today, so, and it's probably about 5 degrees, something like that. But yeah, there is a slight fault. One, the fuel gauge doesn't work yet. The warning light does, but the actual gauge doesn't, so probably the sender's knackered. I don't know how these are meant to work. Oh, okay, glow plug has gone off now, but see, it starts perfectly, he says. Oh, look at that torque roll. It has a reassuring, nice, chuggy melody to it. Tiny bit of smoke, but nothing bad. But yeah, it sounds like a happy little engine, so I believe the mileage. But we do have one very irritating problem. Basically, if you switch the ignition off, it still runs. Revs drop a lot, but fuel's still getting passed. So you have to stall it on the brake to stop it, which is going to get aggravating quite quickly. So that is job number one, or certainly one of the first few jobs. Job number two is I've bought myself, as I quite often do, new number plates. And again, I've gone for a custom one which has quite a bold, strong 80s, 90s font to it, rather than a new modern flimsy, girly one. Got original stereo as well, or what I presume to be an original stereo, which is quite cool. So yeah, basically a quick rundown on jobs I want to do. Fix the stopping issue, clean up the rest of the interior, because although the floor is nice, the seats are horrible, and that is like vile in there. I've got to refit all these trims under there because they all had to come out when I had to smash the ignition off. And then it's cleaning it, fitting the number plates, and longer term it's rust treatment. Fill it with dinitrile, fill it with underbody wax, preserve it. So I am going to go gather some tools and work out what's going on with that stopping issue. Basically, on a diesel, like if this was a petrol, if you turn the spark off, the engine stops dead. On a diesel, it will keep running unless you actively cut the fuel. And to cut the fuel is that there valve. It's like, I've never taken one apart, but I've done a bit of reading. It's like basically a solenoid plunger thing, and basically all the time the engine is running, that gets 12 volts and gets held open, so fuel goes in. When you turn the ignition off, the 12 volt feed should be pulled from that, and that should shut and stop the fuel going through. In fact, we could test this now. If I run it, I'm making this up as I go, so bear with. Right, so theoretically, if I pull that pin, it should make the same noise as when I switched the ignition off earlier, which it does. So that valve is doing something, but it's just not closing. Yeah, man. One day I'm gonna have an accident doing this. I bet the neighbours love me. Yeah, well, I was trying to explain, and I've no idea whether you heard that, but that little valve gets 12 volts from the ignition, holding it open, letting the fuel in. When you turn the ignition off or pull that wire off, it should close. The reason I wanted to do that check is sometimes, even when the ignition is off, you can get a back feed from the alternator through to that wire somehow, magically. So although the ignition is off, there's still, let's say, 3 volts or something going into that plug, holding it part open. So by doing that little test, what I've shown is actually that is probably going to 0 volts, and it's just that valve that isn't happy. So we'll pull it out and see what we can see inside. Primed and ready for action. Oh, whoops. It's a remnant from when I was doing brake lines. I've got a socket on the top of there and a bar. Oh dear. It's a good job I'm not precious about the front of this car. It has had, or van, I've had a few dents, love taps. But yeah, that's going to come off now, hopefully. I've put loads of rag around it, and I've put a drip tray underneath, because I have no idea how much diesel's going to come out of there, and I don't really want to piss off my fiance any more than I already have by bringing this thing back. The Vivaro was reasonably presentable, whereas this isn't quite so much. Oh, well, that was easy. I was expecting a battle. She's very tolerant, but if I take the piss, she'll get angry, and they're violent because she's Scottish and they're mean. I'm only joking. Well, that's good. Didn't have a crap load of diesel coming out, so I'm going to take that into the garage and then see what it does, how it does it, and why it might not be working. It might not be particularly evident. I don't think you can take it apart, annoyingly, because it's got a crimped edge to it, but at least we can cycle it a few times, maybe shoot some WD-40 in it and see if that makes a difference. Well, I've just come up to the engine again and made a discovery. I was peering in there just to sort of get an idea of what it does and how it all works, and that was still in there. That presumably is the what I think what's going on is it is a solenoid. That's the bit that gets fired up and down, and the coil is in that bit, so that's why it wasn't appearing to do anything. But when I look, that has got a massive split all the way through it, and that is some sort of rubber cap. I'll go down the workshop and clean it up and try and show you in more detail. We are back in the Cave of Wonders. That tiny little spring on the end sits up inside the body, and that is basically a spring-loaded piston. Diesel is supposed to be cut off by that bit, pressing down in the bottom of that, of a drilling in that housing or on the top of the pump, and turns the fuel off, cuts the fuel off entirely. I still haven't tested this electrically. I will do that in a moment when I can work out a way of it not firing off. I have no idea, because this GoPro doesn't have a viewfinder, but that little cap thing has almost like a Mercedes badge emblazoned across it, and that is a split. I'm going to see if I can carefully peel that off to show you. Yeah, that didn't go so well. That has actually now just started to crumble. So basically, I'm going to put that back in there, then see what happens when I power it up, and hopefully I don't either fire this into my groin or across the room and lose it. I'm going to use mouth cam holder again, so if you hear me mumbling, it's me trying to talk with a GoPro covered in diesel stuck in my mouth. Right, so that makes sense then. That's electrically fine. I just need that rubber cap. I'm going to go inside now and see if you can buy them. I wouldn't mind betting you can't and you have to buy the whole thing, but we shall go and see. Well, I have good news and bad news. The bad news is that you cannot buy, or I can't find for sale, the cap by itself. You have to buy the whole unit. Which is a shame, but the good news is that a new unit is only £9, so I've ordered one. It'll be coming soon. I'm just going to clean this up and actually get the crap out of there, and then screw this back in there to keep dirt out, and then move on to probably cleaning out the cab. I always bond with vehicles by cleaning them, so we shall do that. Watching people clean stuff is boring, so I'm not going to subject you to that. I am just going to give you a quick tour of grub that's in here at the moment. And I mean, that is fetid. Is that a tea bag? Whatever it was. Oh look, boiled sweet tongue. That's a spare exhaust bracket that I bought and then didn't need because I got trigger happy on eBay, as is life. But yeah, I'm gonna get, oh cool, oh these are cool, damn it, you can't beat a horn. Oh, awesome. Right, treasure, hopefully there's more treasure in here. But yeah, all the floor cabin is done by Spitfire Trading. This is your LDV DAF Road Rage kit. That has got some serious weight to it, so yeah, kind of a beep beep motherfucker. Oh, that is cool. Original, all original. How good is that? So yeah, less chat, more clean, and I'll show you the results later. Somebody put loads of razor blades in that tray and I didn't realise, so I just grabbed a handful of crap and stuck it right for the end of my finger, which is really annoying because that's very, very sore indeed. Mummy's little soldier is repaired. That's my swearing finger as well, so it's quite a crucial one. There really is quite a lot of fetid, I love that word fetid, but it really is just grub. I still haven't found drugs, cash, or the missing ignition keys, which is a shame. But no. Yeah, so we shall continue. I would guess I'm about halfway through. I have been using fairy liquid and a bucket and a nail brush and a sponge, and then to really sort of agitate and get the crap off, and then a microfiber cloth just to rub it off, and that takes the worst of the dust out and grub out. I could use Auto Glim and Diamond Bright, whatever, but it's a van with utilitarian plastics, not super special plastic and leather, so no point wasting that expensive stuff on this. But I have to say it's coming up lovely. The only slight problem is in here. I don't know what this was. I think it must have had some kind of anti-slip rubber tray liner, but it's stuck in a couple of places, and then there's this weird remnants of a sticky label, but it's like perhaps a jar of glue has leaked and I cannot get it off. You can see somebody's ripped that bit of rubber, so I'll just get some mat and cut it to size and put it in there. You can't see it anyway. Dash center console area has come up lovely. Stereo looks lovely. I did have that on yesterday and it was working. That coin tray or cassette holder I can't get out, so I can't clean the bottom, so I'll just have to hoover it. Everything else is good, so I'm now going to turn my attentions to the important side. Well, it was going pretty well until I came to put the door pockets back on, and I didn't take them off, so I was a bit confused as to how they worked. And basically there's 3 self-tappers that go through the bottom, and then at the top corners there would have been 2 more screws, I thought, because there's holes for them. There's even a hole through the gaffer tape where the screw used to go, but there's nothing for it to go into, so there must have been a captive plate there, and when the door pocket came off it must have dropped down inside. So I'm now trying to work out how to get them out, because they're going to be down in here and I can't reach down with my hand, so I'm going to go see if I've got a magnet and if I can magnetize them up. If not, I'll just have to go and find some more captives in my cave of wonders. In fact, that might be one of them. That might have just fallen out. But it begs the question, how the hell are you meant to screw the door pocket on? I'll go and get one and show you what I mean. So here we have the other one. Screw holes. You can't put a screw through in because there's nothing there. The ones along the bottom work fine. So weird, because obviously it makes no sense. Oh, I know what's happened. I think the captive thread was on the back of the door card, and the door pocket screws to the door card and doesn't screw to the door. Yeah, it's got the indentations here, so that's why I couldn't get it to work. So I need to go and find some more of those little brassy plate things, or make something to do the same job. Take both door cards off, put them back together again. I've just found the other one of those captive plate thingies, which is really good. I thought I'd do a little detail on these door cards, because they're just like Rover SD1 door cards, which have these kinds of clips. The way it's supposed to work is this top part slides into the cardboard, and then the rest of it is a push fit in the holes in the door. They are annoyingly fragile, and what usually happens is that where it fractures off, and they're a complete twat to get out of the door as well, which makes me reluctant to put that door card back on and then back off particularly quickly, because I actually want to upgrade the speakers and I haven't bought them yet, so I'm not going to put the door cards back on. But in other news, because the door card is off, I'm going to fill the door with Dynax S50 till it comes out the drain holes. I'm going to do the same on that door as well, take that door card off, order my speakers, and then put it all back together another time. So hence why in later images you might see door cards are missing. This is the S50, which is the real thin creeping stuff, so hopefully, even though it's cold, I can shoot it in there and enough will fill up the bottom of the door. Actually, I don't think it's getting in there, is it? Right, I'm going to have to go and get some dinitrile, I think. There's still a load in here, actually, old cavity wax, but you can never have enough. These cans are quite expensive, so I don't want to just paint it down the door. I do actually want it to go down here, so I think I will go and get some dinitrile as well, and the compressor. Compressor has arrived. I've never really known how much pressure to use with this dinitrile, but the very first time I used it, I forgot to discharge the compressor. It was running at full whack, and I plumbed the can in, and it basically just detonated in the boot of a car and covered me and all of the car and the garage in dinitrile, which was annoying and took a long time to clean up, but at least the car didn't go rusty. But anyway, that's got about 60 odd psi, and here's my can of dinitrile. I always go for the brown one, because if you use the clear one you can't always see which bits you've covered. But yeah, corrosion cavity protection for cavities and open surfaces, waxy water repellent film. So that is what we're gonna do. And I'm just gonna shove it in this door. I'm not gonna go crazy because oh, actually that's interesting. Look, the Dynax S50 did actually work its way down to the bottom. This is going to go everywhere, so I'm going to go and get a drip tray as well. But what I was trying to say is I'm not going to go crazy with this, because at some point I'm going to take this around my dad's house in the field and put a massive sheet down and do the whole truck in as much dinitrile as I can fit in it. And I'll probably wait till the summer to do that, so it's nice and warm and goes everywhere. Drip tray in position, very roughly. I might need a bigger drip tray, but this will do for a start. Somebody in one of the other videos asked, what does the spray actually look like when it's coming out? It looks a bit like that. So you get a 4-direction nozzle and you just shoot it in. It should protect everything. Cooking on gas. Got this door card off, got the clips out. Some of them survived, some of them didn't, and now I'm just going to do more dinitriling. You can see that's the old cavity wax. While I'm here, might as well top it up. I think maybe it's just too cold. It's coming out more like jelly and it's not flowing. So basically, although this has been better than nothing, I will have to come back and do this again in the future. And when I do it, I mean, it does come out, that's the thing. Wittering again, back in the next summer when it's warm, whatever, when I denitrile the rest of the truck, I'll have to do these doors again. just to make extra double sure. Anyway, it is raining. I'm going to go in and get some food. Well, I think I'm about done for today. I haven't put my number plates on yet. That could wait for another time. They're not exactly falling off anyway. And don't worry, they're not going in the bin, the old ones. They're going to be kept because they're the original dealer ones. But in here we have a bit of a transformation. Spitfire Trading did all the floor. I think I said that earlier. But I have now cleaned up all the dash, so it looks really lovely. Door cards, obviously, they're going to go back on once the speakers have arrived and once I've finished filling it with cavity wax. But yeah, it's looking really nice. Really happy with that. It doesn't have any screw holes in it like for additional equipment. It's just as it left the factory. The only damage to it is one tiny mark there, one tiny mark there. Well, that's it. It is pristine. Even got the original steering wheel. Spitfire Trading again has donated an indicator. Indicator and headlight switch because the original was knackered. But really is lovely. I'm going to next job really for me in here after the door cards is seats. So I'm going to go get the other one. Not in this video, but it'll probably be in one of the later videos. And start cleaning it up and working out how it comes apart so that I can swap the fabric over. See you later.